Big day about to begin on Capitol Hill. The opening arguments in the impeachment trial just hours away.
Last night's marathon debates went until nearly 2 a.m. And take a look. The senators racing to get home before they have to return to Capitol Hill today.
Just a few hours of sleep that came after a series of party-line votes where Republicans, for now, voted down Democrats' demands to see the documents and witnesses blocked from the House impeachment hearings. The House prosecution team set to make their formal case to convict President Trump today. And our senior congressional correspondent, Mary Bruce, is tracking all the latest on Capitol Hill. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning, George. Well, if yesterday is any indication, this is going to be a drag-out fight here on the Hill. For 12 and a half hours, they debated the rules for this trial and that central question of whether to allow new witnesses and evidence. And as this fight stretched into the early morning hours, the attacks grew sharper. The two sides trading insults, but at the center of this clash, a very real fight about what is fair and what is right.
The Senate is adjourned.
Overnight, after hours of intense, grueling debate, frustration between Democratic prosecutors and President Trump's defense team boiling over.
I am struck by what we have heard from the President's counsel so far tonight. They will not permit the American people to hear from the witnesses. And they lie. And lie and lie and lie.
Mr. Nadler, it is not nonsense. These are privileges recognized by the Supreme Court of the United States. And to shred the Constitution on the floor of the Senate, to serve what purpose?
It grew so heated, Chief Justice John Roberts stepped in to reprimand both sides.
I think it is appropriate at this point for me to admonish both the House managers and the President's counsel in equal terms to remember that they are addressing the world's greatest deliberative body.
All 100 senators forced to sit silently through it all, their phones tucked away in cubbies outside the chamber. At the core of this fight, a bitter battle over the rules for the trial ahead. Democrats say without additional witnesses or documents, the trial amounts to a cover-up.
Witnesses matter. Documents matter. Evidence matters. The truth matters.
But Trump's lawyers argue House Democrats rushed to impeach without fighting for witnesses in court.
Obstruction for going to court? It's an act of patriotism to defend the constitutional rights of the president, because if they can do it to the president, they could do it to any of you, and they could do it to any American citizen, and that's wrong.
The debate stretching until 2 a.m.
If we keep going like this, it'll be next week.
Yeah. We're making it hard for you. It's not our job to make it easy for you.
Democrats offering one amendment after another, demanding new evidence.
The amendment is tabled. The amendment is tabled. The amendment is tabled.
But they all failed.
It is tabled.
Even Republicans who support considering new witnesses say now is not the time.
The right time for that vote, that decision, is after the opening arguments.
But many key Republicans, like Senator Susan Collins, did push for changes to the rules. Republican leader Mitch McConnell, eager to keep his party united, quickly made revisions scrawled by hand on the actual resolution, agreeing to admit the evidence gathered by Democrats in the House and to allow each side to have 3 days instead of 2 for opening arguments. After 12 and a half hours, the contentious day ending with this brief moment of unity and applause.
On behalf of all of us, we want to thank you for your patience.
Comes with the job. Oh, please.
And through all of this, remember, senators are stuck in their seats. No cell phone, no coffee, no staffers to help them out. We spotted several senators fidgeting in their seats, passing notes back and forth to one another. One senator even managed to sneak in a crossword puzzle. George, it is clear this process is going to be a bit of a challenge for these senators, now turned jurors, and they are expected to be back in those seats later this afternoon.
Yeah, let's talk about what's going to happen today, Mary. There could be another procedural fight over some of the rules, and then we believe these opening statements are going to begin.
Yeah, as we have seen from yesterday, there are a lot of variables here, but here's what we expect. This morning, both sides will submit pre-trial motions. Now, that could include a motion to dismiss from the president's team, but Republicans have made clear they will not support that measure at this time. Then, at 1 o'clock, all of these weary senators are expected to be back in the chamber for what we believe will be the opening arguments. And, George, under these new rules, both sides will have 24 hours stretched out over 3 days to make their case.
Okay, Mary, thanks very much for bringing our chief legal analyst, Dan Abrams for more on this. You look at the 12 hours yesterday, and what you saw the House managers doing is obviously putting the president on trial, also putting pressure on the Senate to have what they call a fair trial on these documents and witnesses. The president's team putting the House on trial.
Right. So I think the most important thing for the House managers to do from here is to somehow make the American people realize how important it is to have more information. And what I mean by that is they've got to make the case that what we have already is incredibly damning. And yet there are some holes here and there. Why? Because the president hasn't allowed certain people to testify. If we can hear from some of them, that will fill in the holes that you ought to want filled in. I think that's the key to sort of bringing together the procedural with the substantive for the House managers. And on the flip side of it, look, it is the strategy to put the House managers on trial. They don't want to focus too much, I don't think, on Ukraine. They didn't mention Ukraine certainly nearly as much as the House managers did.
Yeah, and meantime, the whole question will be, can they convince 4 Republican senators in the end that you do need to see documents and witnesses before the end of the trial? We had a little bit of a surprise yesterday. Mitch McConnell had to change his House resolution under pressure from those senators. But the big question is, does that show he's losing control of his caucus or knows how to keep control?
Right. And I think those are relatively minor changes, right, which is 24 hours over 2 days versus 3 days was one of the changes. Do you admit the evidence at the outset or later on? Not that substantive, but the question is the bigger picture. Does this mean that somehow he's lost a little bit of control, or is he saying, look, let's just give on this. Let's give on this now because it's not a big deal. We'll have to see.
We don't know the answer to that. Dan Abrams, thanks very much. You're going to be joining us for our live coverage of the impeachment trial. I'll be anchoring with our entire political and legal team starting at 1 Eastern right here on ABC. Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.